Hello, beautiful people of the internet. Welcome back to the
Hello.
Games and Culture channel. Another review. I promise there was more. We're finishing games. I promise.
Some games.
Um,
One
some
game's sitting
games.
there on Final
Some
Fantasy's not getting
games.
finished right now.
God, I don't want to play my PS5. Anyways, um, we are here with another review. If you saw in the title or watched our podcast, you know that this review is coming. It's the Princess Peach Showtime review. Both of us are big fans of pretty much anything that Nintendo does. So, uh, when it got announced last year, I was really excited about it because it was just something different. It was just something different. And the game definitely delivered on the differentness. Whether that was successful differentness, well, we'll get into that as the review goes on. So, like I said, as always, got Nick with me. I'm Caleb. You know the drill. What is Princess Peach Showtime? It is a 2.5D platformer, obviously made by Nintendo, starring the usual damsel in distress Peach. Um, really they really wanted to break the mold with this one and give Peach kind of her own identity. And so this is unlike pretty much any other Mario game out there. It takes place in a theater, which is, I'm sure there's been theater levels in various Mario games, but it's never been like
The
the prime
entirety of Mario Bros.
focus.
3.
Yeah. Yes, if you want to, it's a game theory. uh,
Oh, it's not a
uh
theory. They confirmed it.
rest in peace, Matt Pat. Um, they did confirm it, yes, after Matt Pat said it. So, but yeah, not taking place in the Mushroom Kingdom, taking place just solely in this theater. They really did a lot to break the mold, um, while still keeping kind of the Mario identity of just being a fun platformer for all ages. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm 32, Nick, you're 28, like
9.
29, whatever. I lose count. And we both enjoyed it. Like we're gonna have criticisms to levy against the game as a game, but make no mistake, this is a fun game, that pretty much for all ages to enjoy. And at the most important thing, Princess Peach is at the forefront, in an actual legitimate game that doesn't have a vibrator or emotions as weapons. So,
No, I
uh,
I was interested when they showed off the game. I thought this was a really good idea. And I did enjoy my time with it. There are some, things to sand down for a next time, but this is the formula Peach should have, I feel.
yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's really cool that she gets her own little identity,
Mhm.
um, away from Mario. Mario's not in this game at all. Neither's Luigi.
No.
Neither's Bowser.
There is
Uh,
the only classic Nintendo character you see besides Peach is just a bunch of toads.
yep, and that's just because they're wanting to see the plays that the theater's putting on. And that's it. She has her own villain. Her villain has her own crew. All of it. I mean, there's not a Goomba in sight. So it's really cool that Peach now has this corner that is her own.
Mhm.
Um, and so get into just some kind of generic gameplay. Like I said, it's a 2.5D platformer for the most part. You know, running left to right, right to left, getting through obstacles, getting through puzzles to get to the end of the level. Um, just base form Peach has this fairy helper. Her name is Stella, and you basically throw Stella out to interact with things. Um,
Very,
also,
very a la Cappy.
yeah, yeah. Very, very a la Cappy. You can spin Stella around you. You can throw Stella out. Um, what also is interesting is in this form, Peach can like rally the members of the theater when they're
Mhm.
sad or like feel like they can't go on. I don't know why that's never explained. The power
It's a
of
Mario
Smart
game.
Bluff.
It's a Mario
Um,
game.
but yeah,
90% of things are explained.
that's the first game where Peach's leadership is thrown into the mix, and she's apparently a very capable leader. And so each level is an act in a play. Plays typically have 3 acts. Every gameplay style has 3 acts as well, which I thought was kind of clever.
Mhm.
And each of those plays puts Peach in the role of the hero of the play, who has been kidnapped by Madame Grape and the Sour Bunch, which are the villains. No explanation is given. Madame Grape just comes in and says, "I am now the theater." as if she's like Meryl Streep or something.
I'm
Uh,
evil now. Haha, beat me. We
exactly.
need a bad guy.
I rule this theater now. Tonys, Oscars, they're all mine. And so and what's really cool in very Mario-esque fashion as well, each gameplay style is consistent through each act of the play. And they just implement your use of those in different ways and more advanced ways. So there's a clear level of progression. Act 1 is teaching you how to use the ability. Act 2 is kind of fine tuning that, and then Act 3 is like a, all right, show us everything that you've learned. But the difficulty across the game is never anything to worry
No,
about.
it's
It's as easy
super
as a
easy,
Kirby game,
which is fine. I
which is
mean,
fine.
yeah, I do. I'm not gonna hold it against it. I mean, yeah, some people our age, but this is a game for kids. And this is a great game for uh kids to get. So I would definitely recommend those get it. Um, I do think, also I think it's smart how they implemented the power ups in this game for Peach because it still feels very Mario-esque. It feels part of that franchise. These are very clear power ups, but they operate. They don't operate the same way like they do in a standard Mario game, Mario Wonder, where you just like you grab the thing and and you now have the thing.
Yeah,
It's almost you're playing dress up, so it's giving Peach her own flavor of the power ups, which I thought
yeah.
was a clever choice in the formula.
And you don't have to recollect it after you get it in the
No.
first act. When you jump into the second or the third act, you just have the power up because you are that play's hero. And so there's no like having to search for it, or like in Kirby, if you don't have the right power up to get some of the collectibles, you have to kind of like backtrack or try to figure out a way to keep it across levels. There's none of that. If you are Sword Fighter Peach, you're Sword Fighter Peach throughout all of Sword Fighter Peach's levels.
Hmm.
Um, like it's still speaking about the difficulty, it's very forgiving, kind of like Mario Odyssey. If there's no
Hmm.
lives or anything, if you die, you just lose some of the coins that are very easy to collect and
Right.
plentiful. It's 10 coins. I think I may have died like 3 times, and I was like,
Yeah.
cool. Checkpoints are all very forgivable. It's a solid game from that standpoint. Anybody can jump in and enjoy it. I think where most of my criticisms are, and I assume yours as well, is gonna be that all power ups are not created equally in terms
No.
of their
Yeah.
fun factor, in terms of how they function, all of that stuff. So we're gonna go down the list. There's really no story here. We're not really spoiling anything. You can find all this information in the trailers and stuff like that. And the game is very quick about putting all of the gameplay styles in front of you. So we're just gonna kind of go down the list here. The first one is Sword Fighter Peach. You get it's based on Three Musketeers. You
Mhm.
get a very basic 3-hit combo, and you have a counter feature. The counter, it's not Dark Souls,
No.
it's not Sekiro. It's very generous in terms of its window. They give you lots of tells, including visual signals, and I think it also chimes as well when they're ready for a parry. And it's very reminiscent of Wind Waker's parry, where Link would do all this flippy shit. Peach does all this flippy shit to to get behind and strike down her enemies. Um, Really, I feel like this is like the middle of the road for the power ups. It's not
Yeah.
bad. It's not revolutionary. It's it's it's
It's
functional.
it's functional. I would probably put it like middle of the road, but leaning towards the topper end of it. Because it's. I feel like this is probably the one where it feels like the starter one they went with. Because actually, I think it's the first one you get.
It is the first one you
Uh,
get. Yeah.
yeah. So this is the starter one. So this is where they start playing with the ideas first. So we have a very basic type, and that's what we went for. It doesn't really evolve that much throughout the 3 acts you use it in.
No.
But it served its purpose the whole way through.
Yep. Jumping now. Second one is Cowgirl Peach. You get a whip. Hitting the action button throws out the whip, and you can grab barrels, enemies, and then throw them. There's also lots of mechanics where you're riding on horseback and kind of going in between different like tiers of a level. If you played any like anything with a horse or like a bike or something, you know about the different like levels that tracks that you can go down.
Mhm.
Um, and so as you're progressing, you're riding the horse more and using that whip to throw things at certain other things rather than just whipping and throwing an enemy away. Um, Again, I feel like this one's very middle of the road as well. It
Yeah.
wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't bad either. It did its function. Um, on the
Uh, uh,
horseback, some of those timings to get to different tracks for the collectibles were pretty tight,
well,
but
yeah.
yeah,
I would.
if it,
It's
it's
def.
middle of the road.
It's definitely real of the road. I would put it below the Sword Fighter, but it's still a pretty inventive one. I think this is probably one that if we get a sequel, which I'm pretty sure we will, it's sold pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, that this is probably one you want to focus on making touching up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Just adding a different mechanic instead of just grabbing and throwing. Maybe actually
Yeah.
having some kind of combat ability with the whip, because there's lots of whip tricks that I think would translate well into combat, like the one where they do it around themselves. That could be like a shield counter type thing that you can
I'm
do.
or I mean, obviously, I don't understand. I understand they don't want to give Peach a gun, but give her something like cartoony, like a little like popper that shoots fireworks, something like that.
Yeah, and have like a shooting gallery type thing. 'Cause that's also very Western. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. I definitely could see that for sure. Next one up, I'm gonna ruin the French, so I'm just gonna say the English. Pastry Chef Peach. And
Yes,
so
Lord, it
Pastry Chef Peach, this is one of the ones where it's not combat or anything.
is.
You are a pastry chef, so you're cooking things like cookies, you're decorating cakes, stuff like that. I personally didn't
Yeah.
mind this. I'm not gonna say it's middle of the road. This one's gonna be one of those you decide the quality of it based on your patience. But I thought that at least the designing the cakes part was kind of fun because like the cakes would rotate and you'd have to get them exactly on to score the points and stuff. The baking the cookies, you're just mashing a button until a certain timing. So I can definitely
Yeah.
see where people don't enjoy these sets of ones. I didn't mind them. They were a fun distraction away from some of the other gameplay styles, but it definitely wasn't my favorite for sure.
No, I don't think this is the worst one, but it's near the bottom for me. The a couple times, it was kind of a good breakup of what because it gets more, typical platformer levels, but by the third time, I'm just like, I don't want to do this one.
Yeah, I wish if you're gonna do something like this, I wish there was more things like wrapped into it.
Mhm.
If every single level had a different pastry that you were working with and you changed up the controls a little bit, nobody would even notice. It would still like fall in line with the theme of the game of like getting more advanced as you go through the acts of the play, but I don't know.
This one's really good.
I wouldn't be surprised if this one does not come back.
Yeah,
Um,
this is one to
if
get rid
in
of
the
if they.
sequel, yeah.
Well,
Next up is probably my favorite one, Ninja Peach.
this is
Uh,
up there. It's
yeah,
definitely up there.
Peach, you're a ninja. You do ninja things. So you have a dash that that you like whip out your kunai and slash through. That's your main combat ability. But it's mostly about stealth and avoiding detection in a very rudimentary way. Like you can hide in grass or you can hide up against walls. It's about just finding the right path through the guards.
Hmm.
It's still a lot of fun. I felt as though it's really well done. Your stealth pace is not too slow, so
No.
if you're really quick, you can get through some things without detection. The part that strikes me about the ninja one is the where you're riding the wave type things. Every level ends in you using some kind of ninjutsu to bring life to something and then ride it like a wave. And
Yeah,
it's just I think
there
they
was some
went
cool
for a
things.
big set piece but couldn't figure out exactly what to do.
A couple of those. I think there's a third one. I don't know if they have the way, but there's one where you're constantly like running up walls back and forth. That was a pretty cool
The
set
second
piece.
and third one both have those
Yeah,
elements.
yeah. And
The
I do
second one, you're
appreciate.
running away from something, and the third one, you're trying to catch the guy that stole the sparkler. So,
Yeah, I definitely thought those two set pieces were pretty cool. I think it probably has. It may have the best set pieces. I don't know. Um, but definitely, this is definitely one of the best one. It's probably top three powers in the game.
yeah, that was a good one. Next one up, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this one. The next one up is Detective Peach. So you are
Z-
a detective.
This is probably one of my top three ones. Even though it of
Okay.
the of even though yes, it is not combat focused. I mean, we like Ace Attorney so much. It's just a little nibble. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just take anything.
I also like the detective ones. They're not my top three, but they were fine.
Yeah.
So you're a detective. There's crimes throughout. Like the first crime is somebody steals a painting from a museum.
Mhm.
Second crime is you're trying to stop a terrorist attack, essentially. And the third is just like another crime wrapped in the story, the overall story of the play. These are solid. You go around and you talk to people and you gather clues and you use your spark of intuition to like basically call out discrepancies or call out people that you know are villains. It's pretty fun. It's basically like a puzzly thing. It's
Yeah.
nothing too crazy.
I thought this was a better breaking up of the platforming than the pastry ones were.
I would agree. I would agree. For sure,
Um,
for sure. There
I
definitely
would
was
hope.
more going on, and it
Mhm.
felt a little bit more natural as well.
Yeah, I would hope that as if when we get a sequel, the picture can go. It's fine. I hope the Detective Peach comes back and they just refine it some more and I mean add some more mechanics to it. It'd
Yeah.
be kind of dope.
Next up, Dashing Thief Peach.
This is also a probably top 3 one.
Yeah, it's a very fun one. So you're a dashing thief, kind of like you'd see romanticized in movies.
That little
Um,
poster back there you have.
yes, yes, exactly this. She literally is just as Joker, except without a gun.
Yes. Except
Um,
without a
so yeah, you're playing as a dashing thief, Peach. You get this grappling hook that you can sling up towards like hooks and stuff to you, and that's the focus of the platforming. There's some little puzzle elements of like hitting switches to redirect lasers so that you can make it out okay. But yeah, it's a fun platforming based levels. It kind of reminds me this is going to be a weird comparison, but the set in stone directionality of the grappling hook makes me think this. It's like those levels in Donkey Kong Country with the barrels and it's nothing but barrels. It's kind of like that except there's lasers and things that you have to avoid as you're going through the path. With quicker reaction times as well. Some of those, especially in the third level where you're like making the escape, some of those windows are pretty tight to get onto the next grapple point.
Yeah.
But but yeah,
I
dashing thief's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's one of the best ones. I mean, as I feel like with most of these in the game they put in just refining, maybe some add some more. But I mean, honestly, Dashing Thief is probably one of the best ones they got in the game. That they don't have to do much in the sequel to improve upon it.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid one. Next one up is Figure Skater Peach. Figure Skater Peach, you're a figure skater. Obviously, you can kind of like you do the spin type move that can like spin enemies around, and there's like a high jump type thing.
Hmm.
And this has a lot of like rhythm game elements. So as you're
Hmm.
skating through, there's jump points and there's spin points that you kind of have to go around and hit as you're skating around the levels, culminating in a boss fight where you are freeing brainwashed skaters from the evil skater and then circling him and killing him with your beauty. It's literally what it is. Um,
Whatever works, I guess.
yeah. I thought this one was pretty middle of the road as well. I didn't
Yeah,
mind this one. I
yeah,
thought
I
this one
agree.
had the best art direction. A lot of the visuals in these levels were very quite
Hmm.
beautiful with all of the ice and the reflections and stuff, but
Yeah,
I think that's my highest praise for it.
yeah, I would agree with you. It's middle of the road. But I don't feel it's middle of the road for me. But it's kind of one I don't know if I was like, oh yeah, you can improve it this way. Like, it's more like for me, it didn't click to 100%, but I could see how this would also click for someone else.
Yeah.
So if this were to come back in the sequel just as it was, I wouldn't complain. It's like, you know what, some people enjoyed it that way, so that's fine. I can just work through the level and then go to something else I enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so as well. Next one up is probably my, excuse me, probably my least favorite one. It's Mermaid Peach.
Yeah, 100% agree. We're in agreement. It's least favorite.
Yeah. So you are a mermaid, Mermaid Peach. And so you go through the levels and you can sing a la Little Mermaid, and you can control fishes a la Aquaman to open stuff and move stuff, and then
The
every
control.
level ends in a very Kingdom Hearts 2 rhythm game Atlantica thing that they really never teach you the mechanics of. I lost
No.
on some stars from not paying attention. The gameplay is
Yeah,
very, very slow. The fish move slow. The fish don't follow you, so sometimes you have to move the fish, then move, and then move the fish.
yeah, and the controls for it were weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
this is the weakest one by far. Generally, I don't know what this may have been one that you had good ideas for, but I feel like it's just been better put on the cutting room floor because there definitely was ideas for a game like this with how many creative ideas they had. That some ideas just didn't make the cut. I feel
yeah.
like it would be better to take this one out and put another one in.
Or I figured, there aren't any other water levels. I don't
Hmm.
understand why this wasn't just like a more traditional water level. Um, I think that if you fine tune the fish controlling mechanic and just make it like instead of bringing fish with you, you just made it like a I'm moving this fish to do this thing, and like it'd just be aquatic puzzles. I think that would have worked out a whole lot better than what it was, um, personally. But I
I
hope
agree.
that this one does not return in the sequel,
Yeah,
unless it's in a vastly
very different
different
fashion.
form.
Yeah, and it needs to be retooled or just go away.
Yes. Last two here, one good, one not so good. um, Next up is Mighty Peach. You are essentially a interspatial superhero thing. You have this suit, you have these powered gauntlets, you can fly through space, and you're super strong. And so I did not enjoy this one that much.
I mean, I thought this was middle of the road. Middle of the road leading towards one of the better ones, just because I mean it was fairly straightforward. That also is kind of its curse. Is it's just fairly straightforward. It's not that creative, even though
See,
the
I'm leaning more towards it's
designs.
one of the bad ones personally.
I don't think it was bad. I did enjoy it more than other ones. But I do think it was like just a little too straightforward with what you got because it's probably the most sci-fi looking of the bunch. It is the most sci-fi
Yes,
looking of the bunch.
yes, yes.
And there's more
Your
you could have
space
done with
hero.
that. Yeah, there's more they could have done with it, and it just feels like they didn't. Um,
Yeah, so the
but
gameplay
overall,
is broken up into two parts. On foot, you are punching stuff, and you only have this like one lunge punch. I wish there was like some kind of combo, because
mhm,
some of those robots that you're fighting take 3 hits to kill, anyways. So I'd rather just have a 3 hit combo and a dash punch, or just a 3 hit combo, kind of like Sword Fighter. You also are super strong, so you can lift up stuff. I don't feel like that was used quite enough. It was used to mostly get stuff out of your way versus actually like using it in combat or some other way. And then there's the flying sections, and you just have your lunge punch. That's it. And so it's really hard when things are coming at you in vertical diagonal angles to line up some of those punches, especially
mhm.
when you had to do them in succession when there was like multiple enemy ships and stuff.
Yeah.
So
No, she definitely should have had like some sort of like blaster because it was clearly a robot suit. So probably should have something like that because it was clearly aping Mega Man, like straight up. It was clearly trying to do
yes,
that.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, but I wouldn't mind seeing this one back because I like the aesthetic. I just wish
Mhm.
that maybe they give her a blaster or refine some of the combat a little bit. Because this really wasn't a platformer. This was combat and flying.
Yeah.
So, last one up was one of my favorites, Kung Fu
This is
Peach.
this is my favorite one.
This is your favorite one? Okay.
Mhm.
This is one of my favorites. I think Ninja squeaks it out just a little bit. But yeah, Kung Fu Peach, exactly what you're written. You're a Kung Fu master. Um, you have I think it's like a 3 hit combo featuring punches and kicks.
Mhm.
You can break through freaking
Yeah.
boulders. You have a counter when against these like staff users. It's actually more of a parry. You attack the same time they attack, and you disarm them, culminating in a kind of Simon Says esque thing where you're fighting another kung fu master, and you'll see the moves that he's doing and the timings, and you have to match the timings to basically match blows before you
Yeah.
can do your knockout blow. Um, all three of these levels were really fast, really furious, really really cool. The final fights were really really cool.
Mhm.
Just a solid transformation overall.
Yeah, no, I said this is my favorite one. I mean, it wasn't as exactly a fighting game, but it's close I got to one, so like, I'll take it.
I mean, yeah.
Um,
When they first
and
squared up in 2D, I was like, "Oh shit, it is a fighting game." And then I didn't see any health bars that come up, and I was like, "Oh man."
sequel, Nintendo would do that in the sequel. Let's
Do it
have
in the
my whole part come
sequel.
like, oh, like,
Do it in the
oh,
sequel.
we're doing Street Fighter, okay.
It'd be so cool.
But even still, the fights themselves are pretty good. You know, kind of having to parry everything.
Yeah,
So I thought it was actually. I don't think there's much. I said with most of these power ups in the game are just more. I want to see more.
yeah.
Really push these ideas. But I think Kung Fu Peach does have like the least amount of work to do to make it like take it to the next level.
Yeah. For me, this game reminds me of a whole lot of Kirby. Early Kirby games, the power ups were very, very rudimentary. And
Hmm.
as the games have evolved, they became complex. And so I think what's going to happen is similar to here. The power ups will become more complex, still accessible. Like when you
Hmm.
pick up a Kirby game and you play Fighter Kirby, you're gonna punch stuff. But for those that want to take a step deeper, you can learn the rapid punch, you can learn the uppercut and the dash slide and stuff like that. And so I think that's kind of the same direction that this game series will go. Is we'll get
Yeah.
more power ups and more refinements to those power ups for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I see a another character from the Mario franchise has gotten their own spin off. Um, And I don't think this game is as good as Luigi's Mansion 1, but it's the same idea where there's a lot of ideas in Luigi's Mansion 1 they had.
Hmm.
Now, it took them close to 20 years to get around to doing it again. Um, but when Luigi's Mansion 3 came out, a lot of those ideas had exploded into Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah,
So I'm definitely interested to see how they can do that the same with Peach.
yeah, and Peach is selling well, so I'm sure that we will definitely get more of it.
Hmm.
Talking about the last game play style just a little bit more, just Peach by herself. All of the chapter end boss fights are all fought with Peach on her own.
Hmm.
And I gotta say, these are one of the things that I kind of dreaded because Peach doesn't feel as good to control as some of her powered up counterparts do.
No, some of them were I did like the one where you're climbing the tower and have to hide behind
The
things.
snake,
I thought
yeah,
that was
that was
good.
gonna be my exception. I liked
Yeah.
that one because it was less on. It was just more kind of what I wanted from these boss fights if they were gonna be depowered Peach. The cat one also wasn't bad, but the fight against Madame Grape and the first boss fight, I can't even remember. It was like the bat or something.
Yeah.
I they're forgettable, and that's a
Yeah.
shame when you're talking about the last boss fight.
Yeah, the last boss fight, slight spoilers here, but it's a Mario game. Like,
Yeah,
um, uh,
you beat
Peach.
her. Like, come on.
Yeah. This is not gonna have. This is not gonna have a bad sad ending. But Peach kind of like all the sparklers come around, and she essentially goes Super Saiyan.
Uh,
In her own
I,
way,
I was gonna say more so ascend. She ascends.
ascends the Super
She
Saiyan.
she, she ascends. She transcends the mortal beings of the Mushroom Kingdom and becomes something more.
Some
If she
godlike
wasn't
being.
already.
Yeah. And then you have the boss fight, and then it goes to a second wave. She goes Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah,
So I'm sitting.
essentially.
But the boss fight really just came down to a third person shooter, just like throwing stars at Madame
Yeah.
Grape. It's like,
And
you
and
could have done.
and dodging on it's basically it's an all on rail shooter. There's you're set on an axis and everything else is moving around you, but you're just on this axis dodging
Yeah,
and
they could have done
shooting.
a lot more with it. Considering, I mean, I don't think I've seen Mario get as powerful as Peach did in this moment, like
True.
ever.
True.
So I never better see her get kidnapped again, because clearly you can kick some ass. But Nintendo's a Nintendo. Uh, but yeah, no, the fight could have been so much more with what you were actually, showing Peach to be. Like, you can add more creativity to this.
For sure. For sure. That was my big thing was like the boss fight started and I'm like this is all it's
This
going
is
to be.
it.
This is it. Okay.
I was hoping we got to wait the second stage. Like, okay, the first stage was that. Second stage we're gonna change. Nope, same thing.
Yeah. I was my thought process was like either the sparklers come in and help you or you go through like each boss like each like transformation and have like a very quick like hit her and then she's done and then you move to the next gameplay style. It's kind of like a test of everything that you learned, but yeah, didn't happen.
No.
That's mostly about the gameplay. I do want to talk a little bit about kind of the other stuff, visuals and performance and stuff like that. On the visual aspect, everything is as it should be. I don't have really any
Yeah.
complaints. Peach's character's
That's.
design is good. I think she's
I
way
mean,
cuter with her hair up Just that's my current take right now. When her
The
hair went back down after Stella like pulled herself out of it, I was like, "Ah, oh, come on." But
um
this is my personal take there.
Fair enough, but yeah, visual wise, I mean, it's probably one of the best looking Mario games in terms of
Yep.
graphics. But that did come at a slight cost because the
Yeah.
Switch is a potato.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about performance. Game is mostly locked at 30 frames per second, but there are times where it does
You
struggle to
notice
hit that.
thankfully the times you notice it the most are just the cutscenes where she's like
Yes.
transforming, so it's not affecting the direct gameplay, but you do notice it
Yeah,
because it's
you do
purely
notice.
dipping to the teens.
Yeah, and you do notice it even more because these are supposed to be big moments when you're transforming. So you're glued onto the screen, and it's very clear that that the game is struggling. Um, which is a shame because it does look really really good. It looks really really good. Like I said, Peach's character designs and all of her different outfits very very solid. Madame Grape's design solid. I think it was very interesting for the theme. Just overall very very solid. Just a shame about that performance.
Yeah.
Music was kind of forgettable. I don't remember any standout tracks or anything like that.
Shit, I didn't even think about the music, but yeah, since I can't think about it, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a little oofy. Yeah, because Mario
you
games are
know,
really good with music.
yeah, and for a Mario, especially in the Mario franchise, music is
Even Luigi's
usually very
Mansion,
very good. Yeah.
even Luigi's Mansion is very good because it's very creepy and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So yeah, that's
Yeah, there really wasn't atmospheric music. Every level kind of had a theme that was based around the gameplay style, but nothing stood out
no.
as exceptional. So, couple slight hits at the end there in terms of like just some kind of the techie kind of stuff. Overall, it's a very solid game. Very solid game. First entry in hopefully a new franchise.
Yeah,
Um, and with all new entries and franchises, I think there's always room to grow and things to improve on. And I think Princess Peach Showtime is no different. Game is selling
yeah.
well, so I think we will see another one.
Definitely on the Switch 2, which the Switch that way the game actually gets some help it needs.
Yes, yes, and hopefully we get bigger levels, um, bigger
More complex.
transformations, more complex gameplay, um, and I think that one's. I think Princess Peach Showtime 2 is probably going to be pretty solid. I You can take this Nintendo, but I just want a small cut of the royalties. Maybe fly me out to Kyoto, but I think the next one should be theater, like movie theater, and we do movie themes like horror, like Jurassic Park, like sci-fi for like
That's
Star Wars, superheroes. I think that would be super cool.
and that gives you enough because it also gives you the ability to keep some of these power ups like Kung
Exactly.
Fu, Dashing Thief, Ninja. That you can keep them there. That's not a bad idea.
Nintendo, if you're listening, Furukawa, if you're listening, all the price for that idea is to fly me out to Kyoto. You know, maybe show me some stuff you're working on. I'll settle for going to Seattle to Nintendo of America headquarters. That'd be fine too. Nick can come too. I guess
Okay.
it was my idea. Nick can come too. Enough silliness though. Nick, what's your final rating for Princess Peach Showtime?
I was debating my score a little bit going into it, but now we kind of went over some of the things, especially that boss fight. I'm gonna put it at a 7.5 out of 10.
Got you. A little bit higher than me. I think a solid 7 is what it deserves.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of room to grow on to grow. Some of the parts of the game that are a little bit weak, the performance, pastry chef, those kind of things, I think do kind of drag down the experience just a little bit. But still very very solid. Definitely worth its price tag. Definitely worth
Mhm.
your time.
Yeah.
Puts the
If
games
you
and culture score at 7.25.
Yeah, if you definitely, especially if you have little kids, or especially even little girls, especially, get this for them. This is a game that they should have had 20 plus years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great that they're finally getting it. So pick up that game, especially for them.
Yeah, and if you're just a Mario game and you're waiting for Thousand Year Door or the next platformer, it does scratch that itch in a
Hmm.
different way. I would also say if you're a fan of Kirby as well, this is
Hmm.
very similar to that where the focus is on the power ups. You don't get to choose your power up, but it is pretty reminiscent of that.
Mhm.
So that is our review of Princess Peach Showtime. Like I said, 7.25, the our aggregate score of our two fearless reviewers. Let us know in comments. I mean, have you guys played it? What did you think about it? What was your favorite power up? What was your least favorite power up? Is my
What do you want?
movie idea a good idea?
What do you want
What
to see in the
movie
sequel?
theme do you want to see in the sequel when Nintendo inevitably takes this idea and doesn't give me any credit for it? Let us know in the comments,
We're
so
never
at the
gonna hear
very
that
least
happens.
we have a record and I can show Nintendo. So please comment down below. And please tune in for our next podcast, our next review, whatever we've got going on. No matter what, we will see you all in the next video. Thank you so much. Have a nice time, evening, day, whatever you're watching this. Just have a nice one.